Cool.
Hi everybody, here we are today. We're going to take a look at a FN FAL conversion from 308, the 7.62 by 51 NATO cartridge, to the German 7.92 by 57 cartridge, otherwise known as the 8mm Mauser. Now you may ask me where I got this idea. I got this idea from FN FAL Files member stimpsonjcat. To my knowledge, he is the first in the world to do a conversion like this from 308 to the 8mm Mauser. Now you might be asking, why would you do this? Why would you convert it? Well, the simple and short answer is that I had purchased a lot of 8mm ammo a long time ago, so I got it really cheap. I've got tons of it, and of course simply just the cool factor. You might be asking, well, is this safe? Well, we can say the short answer is yes, but we'll just touch on it basically. If you look here, we have on the right hand side we have the 308 cartridge, and on the left hand side we have the 8mm. You'll notice there's about 6mm difference in the case length, and the 308 produces about 52,000 pounds of pressure, whereas the 8mm surprisingly only produces about 35,000 psi, so it's completely safe. The receiver can handle this. It can handle the pressure, so no issues there. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about a disclaimer for a moment. This is not a very easy conversion. This is not for someone who's just got basic hand tools out in their garage. You would need a mill. You will need a lathe. Otherwise, I just don't think you're going to be able to do this conversion. It's pretty tough. I also would like to say that if you decide to do this conversion, I'm showing you my conversion, but if you decide to do your own conversion, well, you're doing so at your own risk. I'm not responsible for your safety and what you're doing, because I know that I feel confident that I know what I'm doing, but I don't know if you know what you're doing. So with all that being said, we'll go ahead and start. Now listen, everything always begins in the building of a rifle with the cartridge. First, a cartridge is chosen, a magazine is made, and then everything is built around that. Well, this is pretty much following the same principle. And what we had to do is we had to find, of course, a lot bigger magazine to handle the 8mm round. And I chose a MG13 magazine, just like stimpsonjcat did. And simply because it was designed for the 8mm round, it'll house it. It holds about 25 rounds. And so we just started around this. And to give you an idea, you can see the difference in the size of the magazine between the MG13 here, and this is the standard FN FAL 308, but we'll go ahead and move that out of the way. And like I said, everything starts building around this. So that takes us to the point of going to the receiver. We had to figure out how to make this magazine fit into the receiver. Well, this magazine is a lot wider. The length doesn't matter much, but it is a lot wider, and so we had to figure out how to fit that into the magazine well, which was typically short, simply because the 308 magazine is a lot shorter. I think stimpsonjcat had redesigned his ejector block and thinned it widthwise from front to back to be able to get his magazine to fit. I started thinking outside the box a little bit and decided to mill out the front of the receiver and make a magazine catch in the front. So this is just a block. It was milled and placed on the front. It's been drilled and tapped. So that allowed me to get the magazine in without having to thin out so much of the ejector block. Since I'm talking about the ejector block, this is not a factory FN FAL ejector block. It is a machine block that I've done, and it takes quite a bit to try to figure this out, but I was able to use the factory magazine release with this MG13 magazine by doing a little planning. With that being said, also you have to do a conversion, or you have to machine out your own ejector. So a little bit of work there. It's not that easy, but that's what I had to do to actually get the magazine to be able to fit into the magazine well. Another thing I'd like to point out is that the magazine, the MG13 magazine, has bumps on it. I don't know if you can see those, but they have like little ridges. And to get the magazine to fit into the magazine well, on the magazine guide of the FN FAL, I had to mill out just a little bit right here to get the bump to clear. So that was the process of trying to get the magazine to fit. Well, of course, after doing that, we have to figure out the magazine height. So a little bit had to be milled off of the bottom of the rails inside of the receiver, and I know it's going to be hard to see, but that was to get the proper height of the magazine into the receiver, so as the bolt passed over, it would be able to catch and strip the round and put the round in the chamber. Now, with that being said, because of the way that I placed the magazine by moving it forward, it actually helped in several instances. I know in stimpsonjcat's conversion, because it kept the magazine back, it created a dwell time. Now that dwell time is simply just how far that bolt comes back and gets past the magazine in order to strip the next round. So I alleviated that by moving the magazine forward. However, I did create another problem in the process, and that problem was the feed ramps. And I know it's going to be really hard once again to see, but because the round is 6 millimeters longer than the 308 round, the 8 millimeter round, it was jamming in the front of the receiver when it was trying to feed. So what I done is I just milled in a couple little feed ramps into the barrel. And I know the question is going to be, is that safe? Yeah, it's perfectly safe. A lot of rifles are done this way. The M1 carbine, the AR-15, and just virtually every pistol in the world has a feed ramp built into the barrel. So the magazine placement, where this is going to be positioned in this receiver, is key to this whole conversion, because by moving it forward and eliminating the dwell time, I didn't have to do any conversions whatsoever to the lower receiver, with the exception of one thing. I had to get a stiffer spring, hammer spring. The reason being is not because of the conversion itself, but because the 8 millimeter round has very hard primers in it, and in order to get the hammer to strike the firing pin hard enough to ignite the cartridges, I just had to go with a stiffer spring. So that was a pretty easy fix. We'll go ahead and move that out of the way, because like I said, we did no conversion on that. As far as the bolt and the bolt carrier, no conversion on the carrier whatsoever. A slight conversion on the bolt. Was just 3/1000ths milled out on the side of the bolt, and that was simply to help it pass through the feed lips of the magazine to get clearance to be able to strip the round. So with that being said, that's pretty much all the conversions that I had to do, because what I opted to do, instead of taking an old 8 millimeter barrel and trying to convert it to fit the FN FAL, I bought a barrel blank and just turned the barrel blank down to the FN FAL position. So in other words, or the profile. So the gas block would fit it, all the standard parts like the front the gas block with the front side in it. It utilizes the same regulator, the same gas tube, the piston spring in it, and of course your piston nut. So that's it in a nutshell on the conversion of the FN FAL from 308 to the 7.9 by 57 or the 8 millimeter Mauser. I hope you got something out of this. If you have any questions, well, go ahead or comments, go ahead and comment below. Let me know what you got and I'll try to answer it. But what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and reassemble this, and we're going to head to the range and let you see this in action.